Hello everyone, my name is Megan, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about my most read authors according to Goodreads. And I'm going to break this up into two sections, because if I don't, you're just going to get a list of mangaka. So I'm going to take my top 5 most read mangaka and then scour through my list to find the top 5 author. So we're going to actually start with the mangaka. So number 1 most read author is Hiro Mashima. He has written Fairy Tail and some other things, but I've literally only read Fairy Tail. It is a story about guild wizards. Problems start to arise when you realize this guild known as Fairy Tail is a very rambunctious and highly destructive guild who always seems to find themselves caught in the middle of whatever. So I have read about 56 volumes of Fairy Tail, and I believe that there's 63 when all is said and done, or going to be about 63, maybe 64. So I am very close to being caught up with it. I don't know if there's going to be a series that is actually going to top that, because I mean, if I decide to read anything else by him, he's just never going to be beaten. In the number 2 spot, with 42 volumes of manga read by this author, I have Takeshi Konomi. He is the author of The Prince of Tennis. So when I picked up The Prince of Tennis a few years ago, I picked it up from the library. I was looking for a series that was different from something that I would normally read and that I could read relatively quickly, and except for one volume, my library had all of the series, all 42 volumes of it. And what I loved about the series is I was reading a tennis manga, and then they got to this really intense point, and this character did a trick shot, and you're like, ooh, so amazing. And then, you know, the next character would get to another tricky spot, and then they would do a trick shot, and then you realize by the time you get to the end of the manga, they're basically playing superhero tennis, and it was literally the most hilarious things. But it built up so gradually that by the time you got to the end, you're like, I can believe it. At number 3, we have Rumiko Takahashi. She is the author of several different works. The 3 that I have on my list, totaling 38 volumes read, are Ranma 1/2, which is the story of a bunch of people who fall into magical water that changes them into different things. The main character, Ranma, is a male martial artist who falls into the Lake of the Drowned Girl, and whenever he gets hit by, I believe it is cold water, he becomes a girl, and then when he gets hit by hot water, he turns back into a boy, and this manga is just crazy. It is literally the most complicated love compilation there is. It's not a triangle because it's literally like a diagram. I need a diagram to show you. And I haven't finished this one because this is a very long series. Then the second series, which is actually probably her most popular, is Inuyasha. I have actually seen the whole anime of this, but I have not finished reading the manga from the start. I have read the end of the manga and the very beginning, but I've missed a lot in the middle. You have a high schooler named Kagome who falls into a magical well that pulls her into feudal Japan, where she then gets sucked up in the hunt for this powerful jewel that she accidentally destroys, recollecting all of the shards of this jewel. And to help her is a half-demon named Inuyasha, who despises her because she is the reincarnation of his dead girlfriend who tried to kill him. You know, nothing complicated about that, right? Then the third series I'm reading from her is Rinni. I'm not a fan of this one, unlike Ranma 1/2 and Inuyasha. Ranma 1/2 is just like this crazy fun manga that all the characters have like these hyper exaggerated personalities, and they're just so crazy that you love them. And then you have Ranma 1/2, and then you have Inuyasha, where these characters are very well placed in the story that they're in. And then when you get to this third manga, there is something very flat about the characters. I'm not even sure I'm going to continue with the series. I don't know, I'm not really thrilled with it, but overall, Rumiko Takahashi has 38 different volumes of manga across 3 different series that I've read, making her my 3rd most read mangaka. Then 4th and 5th place are actually a tie. We have Katsura Hoshino, who is the author of Fruits Basket, which is the story of a girl who ends up moving in with this family that is cursed that whenever they hug a member of the opposite sex, they turn into an animal of the zodiac. There's 13 of them because we have Kyo, who turns into a cat, which is the animal that got left out of the zodiac. And there's a whole plot line involving that. But I have 25 volumes read by this author. And then Tai Atsushi Okubo, which is with the manga that I have just finished, that is Soul Eater. This is about a school of students who are either weapons or meisters, so they either become weapons or they become the people who use the weapons. And it starts out with them basically, these 3 students basically getting in trouble for their actions and things that they've done wrong. And then slowly, as the series builds up, they fall into this kind of web of circumstances that basically is causing the whole world to go insane, and it's their job to end that kind of insanity. The series also has the most hilarious, annoying character. Whether or not you read the manga or watch the anime, Excalibur is literally like the most hilarious, annoying person in the history of annoying people. Like, he's so annoying, you can't possibly hate him simply because of how much the characters in the story hate how annoying he is. So with that, that finishes the 5 most read mangaka. Now it's time for my It's time for my most read authors. And to go past all of the mangaka to get to an author that I have read a significant amount by, you have to go all the way down to 11th place on my list, and that is Rick Riordan with 19 books. So from Rick Riordan, I have read, and I'm gonna have to glance at my computer to remember all of this. This is in the order I've actually read them: The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Red Pyramid, The Battle of the Labyrinth, The Throne of Fire, The Last Olympian, The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, and then The Mark of Athena. The Maze of Bones, which is like the only book in this that doesn't have to do with the Percy Jackson universe. The Son of Sobek, The Serpent Shadow, The Staff of Seraphis, The House of Hades, The Blood of Olympus, The Sword of Summer, The Hammer of Thor, and the most recent read from this month, The Crown of Ptolemy. And there are still books in this universe that I can read. I can read their guides and their graphic novels and their other stuff. Then we drop down to 14th place at 15 books read, and that is William Shakespeare. I have read Romeo and Juliet, Much Ado About Nothing, The Taming of the Shrew, Macbeth, Hamlet, which incidentally is the book I have read the most times out of any book ever, because I've had to read it like 6 times in school, and each time I had to read it, I read it for school, I read it like 3 to 4 times for that particular class. So I've literally read it almost 30 to 36 times. It is a lot of Hamlet. Twelfth Night, Shakespeare's Sonnets, King Lear, The Tempest, A Midsummer Night's Dream, a 4-comedy bind-up of his work, as well as a 4-tragedy bind-up of his work, Julius Caesar, Othello, and Titus Andronicus. Then we drop all the way down to 20th place with 10 books read for my 3rd most read author, and that is Michael Buckley, who is the author of the Grimm Sisters series. There are 9 books in this series, as well as 1 sort of companion story. Then for our 4th and 5th most read author, there's actually 3 of them in a 3-way tie. So the first author competing for this tie is Owen Colfer. He is the author of the Artemis Fowl series. There are 8 books in the series, and I have read all 8 of them. And then I have read the first book in his Warp series, which has pushed them to 9 books. I actually have a review of Warp, so I will leave a link to that first video in the description below, as well as I have a series review on Artemis Fowl that I did way back in the beginning of my YouTube channel, so I will leave a link to that one below. So the next author that has 9 books is Lemony Snicket. As you know, he's the author of a series of unfortunate events, and I've only read 9 of them. I stopped at The Carnivorous Carnival. And then the final author is one of my favorite childhood authors, Margaret Peterson Haddix. She wrote one of the first dystopian series that I've ever read, and that is the Shadow Children series. And I believe there were 7 books in that series, and they all start with Among the. Then there is Running Out of Time, which is a story about a group of people who decide they no longer want to live in the modern world, so they create a society that lives like it is the 1800s, the early 1800s, and then I believe it's diphtheria outbreak happens, and the main character is sent by her mother into the modern world to expose the fact that they've actually become trapped in this world, and the people running the simulation don't want it to end. Then the final book I read by Margaret Peterson Haddix was Just Ella, which is what happens to Cinderella after she wins the Hand of the Prince. Alright, so those are some of my most read authors as well as my most read mangaka. Let me know who some of your most read or favorite authors are, and until next time. Hey everyone, if you like what you saw today, go ahead and give this video a like. You can subscribe by clicking the little box down below. And if you want to see more of my content, you can click here, here, or here. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching, and until next time, talk to you later.